Hi everyone, hope you're all well. Dave here from Perfect Ponds and Koi. So in our industry, we are very privileged to visit some absolute beautiful places. And as you can probably see from the view behind me, today is no exception. We are over at Broadway, which is over towards the Cotswolds, and we're popped over, well, them dogs are going a bit mad. We popped over to fix a Oase drum filter. So I'm just gonna take you through what we're doing and we'll have a look at the pond while we're here. Hope you enjoy it. So this isn't the pond, but I thought I'd just give you a quick sneak peek at it because it is water related. The customer here is actually having an indoor swimming pool built. And yeah, it'll be phenomenal when it's all done. They're going to have an outdoor section there, nice patio area, big sliding doors. And yeah, it'll be a fully indoor swimming pool with jacuzzi there and then the swimming pool there. But I was talking to the builder when we previously came over. And all I'll say is, if you think koi ponds are expensive, then I definitely wouldn't have a swimming pool built. Yeah, the cost involved is phenomenal. So here's a pond, guys. As you can see, it's got lovely floating stepping stones going over the middle. They're laid on lintels, so it doesn't actually divide the pond and the fish can just freely swim underneath. There's not actually that many fish in here at the moment because the pond got built originally and then it kind of just got left. So when we started, we had to commission all the system and get it up and running again. But now the customer's looking at different parts of the garden and they're starting to develop it. So we are going to hopefully be getting some new fish in this year for them. So we'll take some videos of that if we bring some new fish over. But yeah, the pond is run on, you can't see that one, but there is a bottom drain down there. And then the other side of the stepping stones, there is another bottom drain which you should be able to make out there. So goldfish and koi, just a few of them in here at the moment. But yes, run off the two bottom drains and then that goes over to the Oase filter system. So we'll go over now and we shall hopefully get it all fixed and back up and running correctly. Right, here's the setup that we've got, the filtration system. So it's the Oase gravity fed drum. And then that goes into a bio chamber, followed into the pump chamber with UVs in there. And I just wanted to make everyone aware, because as you probably know, I'm a big advocate for the Oase products. The fault on this, the drum is broken and it's one of the sensors, but it is not due to a faulty part. If I turn you round, you will see there, that is the control panel. Now, what happened was the control panel normally sits, it's on the other side, but it sits on the side of the drum. And as you can see, where this line is here on the drum filter, the water level in this whole chamber came right up. Now, what happened was when that control panel was sitting down there, the connectors that you screw together to connect up the sensors were submerged underwater. So I actually think the product's done a great job, because considering that it was virtually fully submerged underwater, we've just got to replace that sensor box that has the float sensors connected to it. So even though it has actually broken, as I say, I wouldn't put it down to a fault of the product. It was just a bad installation. And when we came, we've been doing this contract now for a couple of months, and when we first visited, it was probably an oversight on our part as well, because we didn't look and realise that the control panel, with it being mounted that low, the water goes out through there and it goes underneath here. It's a strange way to do it. I don't know why they didn't just put a sump in by the filter, but if you can see this pit down here, which is very, very deep, I mean, it's got to be like 8-9 foot deep. There is a pump right at the bottom of there that we've installed because the previous pump failed, and that is why that chamber ended up filling up with water. So say, hopefully it won't happen again, but just in case it does happen, the water table here is very high, and obviously the drum discharges water as well, but it shouldn't come up high enough now to touch any of the electrical controls. But yeah, we need to clean out all of this. We're also, to run the pond, we've just taken the baffles out, so there is obviously a lot of muck in the drum system now, so we're going to have to clean that down as well. But I shall video us getting all of it cleaned down and getting it all changed over. I was explaining this to one of my customers the other day, and he'd never heard of them, so I thought I'll show you them because they're very, very useful. And it is one of these. Now, if you don't know what that is, as you do up this nut here, these two plates compress and it expands this rubber bung. Now, the reason why I use these a lot is because, I say, we didn't install this, but they've used gate valves. We do use 4-inch gate valves quite a lot, and I know everyone will turn around and go, oh, they leak after time, which yes, they will leak after time. But there are a few reasons, and ideally, if you could fit in ball valves everywhere, then yeah, we'd use ball valves. But 4-inch ball valves, they're massive, and sometimes you just don't have the room to fit them in. So being as you need multiple ball valves going onto the drum, if you can't fit them in, then you can use gate valves, and it doesn't really cause you a problem, because that gate valve, even if we cut the pipe off here, if we close that and cut the pipe off here, yes, it might dribble through, but then if we've got to stop it for any reason, we can just put that in there and then we just take it back out. And then what I'm actually going to do with these today is, I know they will be dribbling and leaking because of the seals get gunk and stuff wedged in them. So if you can see in there where the 4-inch inlet is, we're just going to pop one of them in, screw it up, and then we can guarantee that absolutely no water will come through into it. Obviously, the cost of slide valves is a lot cheaper than ball valves, so that's another added bonus. And I have had in the past, be aware, the slide valves, even when you start to get older, which we're all getting older unfortunately, you can still pull them and push them up and down, whereas I've found some of the ball valves, the big 4-inch ones, they are very stiff to turn. And I've had customers that we have fitted them in the past sometimes, and they've said, I haven't got the force in my wrist to turn them. So if you have got customers that struggle or anything else, or if you're struggling yourself, they say they still get a bit stiff, the slide valves, don't get me wrong, but you can still push them in and pull them back up with relative ease. And as I say, for space saving, it's a much easier product to fit in. Right, it's important that, being as the drum wasn't running, we're taking out some of the screens so that biologically we could still run the pond. But obviously it wasn't taking out any debris, so being as you're letting all the waste through here, this chamber and the end pump chamber were full of gunk. So it's very important that you clean all that down, because it's got the big wash pump and stuff in there, so you don't want that getting all gunk and rubbish all in it. So we have cleaned all that down. As you can see, we put the bungs in, so there is no water coming through there, which is wonderful. So the part we are changing is this box here. So, and this has multiple sensors on there. It has got the temperature sensor, which, if you can just see, just here, there's a tiny little white nut all the way down there. That is your temperature gauge, so that will relay the temperature back to the control panel. There is also then this sensor, which looks very big, but I'll show you in a bit. It's actually tiny, because this just slides off the top, so that sensor is underneath there. That is your float sensor, which will engage the drum. As the water level starts to drop in here, it will drop that sensor, that will engage the drum and do the clean. This sensor here is then the pump control sensor. So it doesn't actually control the pump, but it will tell if the pump turns off for any reason, the water level will then rise up in the drum, and it gives you the install line here. If the water rises up to that, then it will push this sensor up, and that will say to the control panel that it doesn't think the pump's running, because the water level, because you get residual drop on here from it running, and the water level will actually run lower. That should always be down, so it thinks that the pump is continually running. You've got with Oase as well these different settings, but 9 times out of 10 my recommendation would be don't start messing about with them. I just tend to leave them unless it's a very strange circumstance. We tend to just leave them set as the factory settings because they know what they're doing, and obviously everything is all set up ready to go on the pond. So yeah, we will get this switched out. This section on here is very simple. You can see there's a hole there and there's a hole there, and then that coincides with the hole on here and the hole on there. There's just 2 bolts that go through that, and then I think it's 8mm nuts on there. So as I say, I did that the last time I came over just to have a look over the sensors and stuff, and there wasn't much point in putting it back on, but I'll set the camera up and then we shall show you taking the rest of the parts out, because it's a very simple process as with most of the stuff on Oase. So let's do it. Right, the first thing to always make sure, let me just tilt the camera, your control box here, make sure that is isolated at the power. Never start tampering with any of the electrics until you've completely isolated that at the power. So I would turn that off and unplug it first, which I've turned it off, but just taking my own advice, I'll unplug it as well just to make sure. Don't want any mishaps. Right, these cables go to the sensor, so we just need to remove these cable clips. They are purely just to keep all the cable tidy, make sure no cables get caught up in the drum or anything. So we'll remove, it's this thinner one that goes to this box here. We've then got another cable clip there, so we'll remove that. Right, this sensor is literally, we just unscrew the nut there, a couple of turns, that will come off, and then that literally just slides down, as you can see, comes out on there. So that's one done. Nice and simple. Right, this sensor here, remove this off the top, that just slides up. Luckily it is just finger tight on this, so we can do it relatively easy. Right, that's your other sensor. Again, it's a nut underneath. Don't know whether you could see that when I was doing it. There's a nut underneath, so we just unscrew that nut. That sensor will come out. So we'll leave that one out. Right, the one that is tricky is the temperature sensor. So down on this side there's a nut, and in here as well. Right, there's the tiny little nut off that. So that's off. Just down here there is a little cable clip. So we just pins out, and then that is that sensor. Just go a bit higher. This is the very thick wire, and the reason why that wire is a lot thick is because that goes to the clean motor, which obviously the clean motor takes a lot more power, whereas this is purely just sensors, so it's on a thin cable. So we just unscrew them. Screw them on the way. I'm going to pull it apart before it's unscrewed. Never going to work. And yeah, that'll just pull out, and then we should be able to get this old one out the way and not too jumbled up on the cables. Right, that's the old one all out. And in this bag we have the new one. When you purchase this part, they will send you the new bracket. So obviously you can take it off of that bracket, but you can also obviously just unscrew that nut and just take it out and put it onto the existing one. As I say, it's stainless steel, so it's not, that part never really needs replacing, but they do send it out to you. So if you wanted to, you could change that out as well. Right then, first thing I'm going to do is mount this box back into position. So I shall get the nuts and bolts that I previously took out. Right then, it's actually a 7mm spanner. So 7mm spanner, and that end is a Allen key. we'll start with, we'll put in the temperature probe because that's the trickiest one to get in. Just a note as well, on a previous video I showed you how to take this drum out on a compact M, which it's a very similar principle of taking the motor off, moving this bar out of the way, taking the chute out, taking the pin out over this side, and then removing the drum. If you're struggling to get that temperature sensor back on, I'd recommend just take the drum out and then it's easy to get to. So if you've got bigger hands than me and you're struggling to get in there, if you take the drum off, then it's clearly visible and very easy to get down there to work on there. Do that cable clip back up, that's tight. Right, next one we will put in is the clean sensor. Slap that in and done. And then finally we just need to put a flow sensor in. With these, they don't need to be cranked up really tight, finger tight, it's fine, they're only plastic joints and they're not under any pressure or anything else. So yeah, don't worry about doing them too tight. We'll put this cover back on. That's got a little rubber button upside down. It's got a little rubber bung that it sits into. That slots in and pushes up so that it doesn't get any waste going into there. Right then, finally, we'll put this last cable clip back on there. Do make sure all these cable clips are on because obviously it keeps all the cables back to make sure nothing gets caught up in the motor or anything when it's cleaning. Right, we'll get all the screens back in. So again, make sure, same as the compact, that you pass that, because otherwise they won't go in. Put them through first. Make sure these hooks on the pads hooked in. Give them a wiggle and you're in. Right, take my bungs out. So you can pick these up from any builder's merchant screw picks. They're just 110mm bungs. Yeah, it's very important once you pull this back together, never just open the gate valve straight open, because these will clog very fast because you're purging the drains through, and then you can do damage to the screens, or even worse, you could do damage to the drum, because if that fills with water and there's not water around it, then that becomes very heavy because it's completely full of water, so you can twist the metal or bend it. So yeah, just always make sure, just let it slowly fill back up. If you find the water's coming out very slowly, you can always just give the drum a turn and that'll take you to a clean screen and let the water start coming out again. Right, while that's slowly filling back up, we'll put the connection on at this end. Right then, that's us all done on this. We're just waiting for the water level in the pond to fill back up, so we'll just get this all cleaned out while it's filling and then get it all turned back on. Right, that's us all done then. Hope you enjoyed the video.